Hello. Welcome to the Homeschool Mom Chat. I'm Teresa Wiedrich. I am the certified life coach here in the homeschool mom space. If we haven't met, it's lovely to meet you. And if we have met, I would love to hear how you have fun in your homeschool year. That's the goal of today's live. And why did I bring these out? Okay, that was a little canned. I was intending to do this, but here's the thing. I keep these on the patio for a reason, because I like to stare at the neighbors. Okay, the neighbors are a couple of bald eagles in the trees, and honestly, probably 40, 50 feet away, not too far away, and I just love watching them. It's a sign I'm getting old. My human neighbors are not that close, nor would they say they're that interesting. But I thought it would be super fun to have a conversation about fun today. Why, you ask? Because I know it's one of the most challenging things of a homeschool mom's life. Can I hear an amen? This was for me, certainly. Trying to have fun while homeschooling. I'm just trying to get everything done, or not lose my mind by the end of the day, or wonder where the kids' soccer cleats are, or you fill in the blank. And I know that that is the life of a homeschool mom. There's just so much going on. We have a hard time keeping two thoughts consecutively in our minds, let alone actually trying to have fun. So last week in my Confident Homeschool Mom Collective, I had a conversation, I guess it's 2 weeks ago, a conversation with a mom who is on the East Coast. She's got 3 girls. She's a lovely mom, and she was sharing that that is the most difficult thing for her, is to actually try to have fun in her homeschool days. And I said, girlfriend, I entirely relate. And though it doesn't seem like it anymore, because I really have fun in my life. I really know how to time block my life so that I'm doing all the important things. That was a learned skill. Learning how not to multitask as a homeschool mom, again, a learned skill. Also, you're always going to learn how to multitask. But like practicing multitasking, that's a method for insanity. This I've learned, that fun is not always the natural default setting of the homeschool mom, but if you really want to be present in your days and absorb all the memories that you're creating, you actually want to incorporate fun. So because my 4 kids are grown up, I have my youngest kiddo is about to graduate high school this year, and my older 3 girls are completely grown up and launched. When I look back, or when I think back to my homeschool experience and what was fun, there is not ever a workbook or a textbook or a sitting down at the table moment incorporated into the fun filed into my mind. Maybe geography. I did like the geography. But other than that, I didn't actually find a lot of the really tangible, sit down at the table learning opportunities that much fun. No, I'm not saying not to do them. You do you, girlfriend. And I also did me. And I also knew how to incorporate unschooling, a kind of an unschooling approach with some very formal learning activities, because they matter to me. And I wanted that for my kids' education. In the first 3 or 4 years, I was trying to out private school to private school. And as time went by, I loosened up dramatically in my 3rd year. Otherwise, I would have entirely burned out and really would have found the bus route to the school, as I joked. But I learned to relax, loosen up, and find a way to have fun. Not every day. Not every day, not every moment. Some seasons were harder, but I learned to incorporate fun. And the memories filed into my mind that were fun included a lot of games that, it turns out, are also learning opportunities. Going to places. We did a lot of traveling for my husband's work. And so then we did a lot of traveling as a family. That was definitely fun. Even the most harrowing, challenging moments are etched into my mind. I'll tell you more about that if you're listening to the podcast episode this week for homeschooling in British Columbia. So even if you're not in British Columbia, you're going to hear me speak to new homeschoolers and share about our 7 years of traveling off and on. We went into West and East Africa at different times, into the East Africa East Africa, we took a hike for 3 or 4 hours without water. We forgot water as we were going to visit the Rift Valley, the Great Rift Valley, where the civilization was born, and also when we went into West Africa in the Ebola crisis. This was not fun. It was serious business, but it was a memory etched in my mind. And I can remember way many more travel stories and way many more moments playing games around the table or doing crafty kinds of things or, taking holidays of birthdays became holidays, or taking 100-day parties, celebrating the 100-day party, or the not back to school picnic that we had, or all the different things that we incorporated. Fun Friday, that one we did very consistently. All of those things had so much more resonance and more fun than any of the textbooks, workbooks, or formal learning activities that we needed to incorporate over time. So I'm curious what you do to incorporate fun in your homeschool. I'd love to hear if you'd share it below. So can you relate to this conversation about being challenged to have fun in your homeschool? Is it an issue for you, or do you have that down? I know there is one mom here who I follow. You probably do too. She has so much fun and has an amazing capacity to create reels out of this fun. And that is not a regret she's going to have. She's going to love looking back at all of the things she's created and all of the moments that she's had with her kids. I learned to do fun, but I had to actually first put it into perspective, because I had stuff to do, serious business, this home ed thing. So I had to understand that actually kids stay engaged longer when they're having fun. They are motivated when they're having fun. They're more curious and playful, and they harness their imagination more when they're having fun. Ditto for us. And it would turn out whatever you're practically learning, you retain because you're having fun. So they stay engaged longer. I learned that they actually retain more information. They don't get burned out from the routine, and that includes us. And I know it's in the beginning of September, and most people are not yet burned out by the routine, unless maybe you have been doing it since July. But most people get burned out in October, November, or January, February. If you have other experiences, would you share with me below? There's something about the October, November thing where your routine starts to feel like it's getting clarified. You're like, is this working? Or what's not quite right? And then also after Christmas, when all of the fun celebrations are over and things get to be a little more dull, perhaps a little more gray in your part of the world, and you're just like, okay, let's have a documentary day. Let's just get a bowl of popcorn and sit with a documentary. Or, well, I don't want to do this textbook anymore. It's not working for us. Or I don't want to do this routine that we're doing. It's not fun anymore. That's normal. If you've never heard it before, it's normal in January and February. In fact, there's many words or phrases for it. Sometimes people call it winter blues. Some people call it slump month. But during that season, it's common to actually feel blah. So we have to plan for it. And that's why it's important to actually time block fun. Some of the ways that I incorporated fun and still do. One is Fun Friday. Even though my kids are grown, I still find fun on Friday. I make sure to block off time to do fun things just for me. So that could be coffee with a friend, or it could be shopping, or it could be going for a drive somewhere, or a hike, or kayaking, or so many possibilities, actually. There's so many possible things I could do, but one thing I do for sure is block it off to do something fun. On Fun Friday, last Fun Friday, someone had asked me, what are you actually going to do? And I actually scheduled a reel specific to this upcoming Friday to let you know what I did last Friday. But I know that my experience as a graduated homeschool mom is going to be a whole lot different than yours, because you might not find it nearly as easy to just drive off into the sunset at whatever time without a babysitter or without somebody looking after the kids. And so I know that is not an easy thing to do. And also, when I did Fun Friday, as I was homeschooling, I was doing it with my kids. Curiously, I also was doing it with one of my kids last Friday. But since she's 22, it's a different kind of energy, right? So, but either way, we made sure to do Fun Friday, and I still do. Okay, here's my case for candy. Probably the same case I have for screen time. No, I'm not going to try and influence you one way or the other about sugar or screens. You do you. Trust your gut. Your gut clearly does not want to have sugar. But I would suggest that sometimes if you keep constraints on sugar and screens, that when you sprinkle them in, kids are pretty dang engaged. If you say, okay, kids, you guys can hang out on the Duolingo app, or what did I hear this morning? There's another really cool app that people were describing for writing. But, you know, if they are not accustomed to having apps or having screens all the time, they're eager to use them when they have them. And so there's something to be said about sprinkling in screens and sugar so that they appreciate them more. Now, take it or leave it, what I'm about to share. But for our experience, I would sometimes sprinkle in sugar. And so there was a candy connection if the kids knew that there were certain activities we were going to do, like Smarties grammar mapping, you know, red Smarties for verbs, green Smarties for nouns, and etc. Then they would be game. They would be eager to learn vocabulary, to learn grammar in general. And also we did marshmallow constellations for astronomy. That was really fun. It was sticky, but it was really fun. Skewers or toothpicks connecting mini marshmallows in the form of the constellations. So I think that's kind of cool. It's not something I grew up with. It certainly was a gap for me when I grew up, understanding anything related to astronomy. I think I learned some basic flyover astronomy in grade 4 or 5. And I was always fascinated with it. And then I got to do a deep dive as a homeschool mom and get rid of that gap. But we did a lot of marshmallow constellations, and I've noticed still when I'm lying on this patio at night in the middle of the summer with my kids and we're, you know, identifying different constellations. There's also Twizzler DNA strands for biology. I would say use all these candy ideas sparingly because dental costs are extreme. And I think that would probably be the number one reason why I would say not to do it, because dental costs are expensive. But when you do use them, the kids are definitely engaged. We both know that. Beyond the sugar rush, though, I think fun doesn't have to require candy. Here's my favorites. Weather Channel drives. There were times, especially in the winter, where I was just like, I need to get out of the house, but I couldn't leave the house without the kids. And so we'd get into the minivan and we'd turn on the Weather Channel. Yes, call me boring, but we would literally drive around listening to the Weather Channel in French because I'm in Canada. So we'd listen to the French weather reports and try to identify words that were English. And you know, the best way to learn another language is to listen to it on repeat. Really, the best way to learn a language is actually to live in that culture when you don't have a choice but to learn the language. Or if you have a nanny or a parent that is also speaking another language, that requires you full engagement. But Weather Channel drives were most definitely something that I love to do. We're talking all about fun today. So if you have a fun activity for Fun Friday or just to incorporate into your homeschool fun in your year, let me know. So also this one, as time goes by, a lot of homeschool moms figure this one out because it works. But maybe for the newer homeschool moms, know that when you're doing a read aloud, it's okay if the kids are doing something with their hands while they're listening. In fact, if they're painting or knitting or building Lego creations, they're probably more engaged because they're busy with their hands. You might be surprised if you ask them questions about the reading that they actually can answer them even though they're busy. I found in the beginning years that I really just wanted them to sit and listen and be able to give me a paragraph to a page of dictation by the end of our time. And even my most compliant kiddo was somebody that went along with whatever I asked. And fast forward 2 decades, and she's told me that she found that even what we were doing, though she was doing it willingly, it wasn't working. It was too much. She felt overwhelmed by it, and she didn't learn much from it. So So there's some real value in listening to your kids and saying, is this really valuable for them, or is this really just for me? Your favorite fun Friday is to study another country and wrap it up by cooking a dish from that country. That is so fun. Yeah, that is absolutely my favorite fun. With that same kiddo that I was just talking about, who is 22 years old now, for her final homeschool year, high school year, we put together an entire YouTube series on all the cooking that we did routinely in the home. That too was a whole lot of fun, but that food angle is always so much fun. It's a funny thing that in our home country of Canada, we eat beans fairly regularly, but not nearly as regularly as we did when we were in West and East Africa. And when we were there, the kids still remember those meals and putting those meals together, and they actually thought those meals were really luxury kind of foods, even though they were sukuma wiki, which is like a type of greens, beans, and rice. That's all. It was very little expense. Yes, it really was. Oh, I'll definitely send you the YouTube playlist. There's a playlist on my YouTube channel, the Homeschool Mom Wellness and Mindset channel. And I think it's Homeschool High School. That might be it. Or maybe it's the Homeschool Kitchen. Yeah, it is pretty wild actually doing that with her. I have another kiddo who also did her own YouTube channel, because, you know, you got to at least have one kiddo out of the 4 kids that does a YouTube channel. And she got somewhere like 40,000 views on certain videos. She just absolutely loved doing YouTube. But anyways, I digress. There's so many different ways to have fun, but what I would really say is time block your days so you have fun. Incorporate the fun. And some days it won't happen, and some seasons are definitely not fun seasons. Life throws stuff at you that doesn't feel fun at all, but you have to deal with that, as we all do. And yet, if we don't find specific time, if we don't make specific time for fun, it won't happen. We need to make time for fun. So if you haven't learned about math games, there are, I don't know if this is really a popular thing anymore, but math games with dice. There's, is it 12-sided dice that you can actually build all sorts of different games for arithmetic and even fractions. Or Yahtzee is a game that everybody knows for arithmetic, Scrabble for spelling, Monopoly, perhaps for economics, or there's also Ticket to Ride. There's so many games, but if we actually look at our game ideas as learning opportunities, then we can put to rest our hearts and say, girlfriend, you're still learning, the kids are still learning, and you're having fun. Pretty much every game that you choose, every game that you engage your kids in, it's learning. It's not just fun. I mean, it is so easy for me to point to my son who loves chess and me say, well, of course that's learning. But you know, chutes and ladders for a young kid is also learning. There's just different ways to harness the brain's participation, really. Different things that your brain is learning. All of it is learning. And of course, if you want to keep the kids busy in the grocery store, you can always ask them to estimate how much you're putting into the cart, which probably will come in handy for you anyway. But do that, or have them go on a treasure hunt and wander around the grocery store. And yes, I really did that. Depends on your kid's age, but they can be incredibly helpful. My oldest daughter was 14 when she was helping me with the Christmas grocery shopping one year, and she did an amazing job. I got called away in the middle of our grocery shopping and had to come back, but she did an amazing job. And so life skills also can be fun, especially when you're little and you have one of those teeny tiny carts. They can actually estimate how much they're putting into their carts. Maybe they have freedom to choose the granola bars that week, and that can be fun. Although, between you and me, just don't go grocery shopping with your kids. I say that, and I know that is completely unreasonable, that you aren't going to go grocery shopping with them all the time. But if you cannot do it, you don't want to do it. Grocery shopping is not a fun place with a bunch of kids, but if you have to, you can make it fun. Okay, so I could keep going and going and going. I think more than anything, there are many different ways to have fun. It's more about, are you going to actually make sure to have time for fun? Yes. Yeah, you got a good point there. Grocery pickup. How do you know I'm from a different generation of homeschooling? Yeah, grocery pickup is so amazing. That is one of the benefits of the pandemic, isn't it? That and outdoor patio seating. Anyways, yes, of course, you could just do grocery pickup. And by the time they're about 14 to 16, then they can help drive to get the grocery store pickup. But this is not fun. When you start driving or teaching kids to drive, not a lot of fun. The first kiddo, she had lessons that the youngest didn't. When I finally was driving independently, or my son was driving independently with me when he was doing his first driving lesson, he said to me, "Mom, can you pay attention?" This is my first time driving. His experience was radically different from the first kiddo in her learning. But yeah, I don't really think that's fun. But somehow, some way, you could probably convince a child to go with you to pick up the groceries. So let me see here. Don't overwhelm yourself with fun. I know you're not going to anyways, but I amuse myself. You don't want to overwhelm yourself with the expectation that you are going to have fun at all costs, because that kind of energy is not fun. But the goal is to time block so that you might consider having fun, both with your kids, with your partner if you've got one, and also by yourself. If you can get away for half an hour or an hour, anywhere except not the grocery store, once a week, you will do so much good for your soul if you can incorporate that into your routines. So I encourage you to mark your calendar, your 100th day party from the very first day. This can be a fun thing just for kids to learn to count. Get a 100-day calendar, just a basic free printable off or online, and then you can count from the first day that you do your formal learning and color it off or X it off, and then count the numbers of days until the 100th day, and then have a party on the 100th day. That's something we did so routinely that I actually wrote a post on that one. Also not back to school picnic, but I think I missed that conversation because I'm imagining everyone is already back into their homeschool routines. Of course, family birthday parties are homeschool holidays. To this day, my husband's about to have a birthday, and to this day we treat every birthday like it is a national holiday. Everybody else doesn't know, but we don't do anything. We'll all take days off just to celebrate. That's pretty fun. And, be encouraged in this discussion. I do not want to make you feel guilty because you're not having fun. Truly, it took me years to figure out how to have fun. And now I still have to time block it. I still have to make sure I am going to go have fun. I'm going to go do something like kayaking with my husband, or I'm going to go to a movie or something with a friend. I am going to go have fun, and I have to put it in the calendar to make sure that it happens. But it was a practice for me because, this mom thing we take pretty seriously, but home editing or home education mom life, that's next level. We're trying to do all the things. But I can tell you there isn't a workbook in my mind that I say, now that was just fun. Actually, I said that, and now I'm thinking of 5 in a row. That was pretty fun. But other than that one, there were a lot of workbooks in my homeschool journey, and they had their place. They have their value, of course. But the fun was in the travel moments, or the field trips, or the extracurriculars, or the people that we met, or the food that we cooked, or all those things. Those were the things that I found the most fun. So start with what feels manageable, and remember that your kids will not remember the things you remember anyway, and you can't possibly know how they're experiencing it. You can ask them, but their experience when they're 8 and their experience when they're 20 really is very different. But your goal is just to have fun with them for your memories and also for those. Okay, so before we wrap up, I would love to hear what your favorite homeschool fun idea is. I would like to inspire each of us. So you can share your thoughts in the comments section. I'll share mine. And I will at some point throw this into the Homeschool Mom Wellness and Mindset channel on YouTube so that you can watch it again. And share it with one of your mom friends who is definitely not having fun, because this year I want you to have more fun in your homeschool journey. So speaking of taking things too seriously, if you are feeling overwhelmed and like you are carrying too much already at the beginning of this year, I have a quick 5-minute quiz that could help you uncover what's going on. It's called the What's Really Driving Your Homeschool Overwhelm, and it helps you figure out what part of your homeschool life needs extra care right now. And spoiler alert, there's 8 different parts that I identify when I'm working with homeschool moms where they are often out of sync. So if you haven't already signed up for that quiz, you can head over to my website called capturingthecharmedlife.com, or you're going to find it above, I believe, in the link, or above in the bio, or if you just type quiz in the comments section, then it'll come directly into your DMs. And it'll help you figure out what's really going on, because overwhelm is not fun. Okay, so that is what I have for you today. I hope that you have a beautiful year. I hope it's so much fun. And even the moments that it isn't fun, sometimes those moments somehow get transformed over the course of time as amazing memories, even though you were trying to figure out some really difficult, challenging thing. For some reason, our brain locks it in and incorporates it as an amazing moment in our life. Like I was sharing earlier, hiking for 3 to 4 hours with 4 children under the age of 10 into an into a very tiny African town. There was no 7-Eleven for water. There was nothing at all to drink. We walked for 3 or 4 hours to go see the Great Rift Valley, the hotspot, or the space where civilization apparently began. And we did that without water. That somehow is transformed into my mind as fun. That's how we roll. We humans do that. So anyways, I would love to keep the conversation going. Let me know what you find is fun, what you're hoping to incorporate down below. And I hope you have a beautiful week. We'll see you next week in the Homeschool Mom Chat here on Instagram, 1 p.m. Pacific. Have a beautiful week.